tout le monde. Bonjour tout le monde, merci d'être venu. Donc aujourd'hui, le cabinet libéral tient une grande retraite sur la crise du logement Trudeau. Drôle, hein? Ça fait 2 semaines, Justin Trudeau a dit que le logement, c'est pas sa job. Mais maintenant, il a une grande retraite pour, apparemment, renverser le dommage qu'il a causé en doublant le coût de logement en 8 ans. Je vais aider M. Trudeau avec quelques faits par rapport au logement depuis son arrivée au pouvoir. Aujourd'hui, ça prend 66 % de revenus familial moyenne avant impôt pour payer une hypothèque. C'est un record de loin. Il y a 8 ans, ça coûtait à peu près 39 % Pour économiser assez d'argent juste pour le premier versement, ça prend 25 ans à Toronto. Il y a 8 ans, on était capable de rembourser toute une hypothèque en 25 ans. Maintenant, ça prend 25 ans juste pour économiser le premier versement. Les loyers sont aussi hauts à Toronto que maintenant les étudiants vivent dans les centres d'hébergement. C'est sans précédent, mais c'est le cas après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Les couples nouvellement mariés doivent payer 1 000 $ pour une chambre dans une maison rangée qu'ils partagent avec 2 autres couples qui paient eux aussi 1 000 $ pour leur chambre, avec des salles de bain, les cuisines et les autres salons partagés. Ça, c'est le cas pour les nouveaux couples après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau, le paiement hypothécaire moyen est allé de 1 400 $ à 3 300 $, plus que le double. En fait, un paiement hypothécaire a augmenté plus dans les derniers 8 ans de Justin Trudeau que pendant les 150 ans avant lui combinés. Ça, c'est son bilan. Après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau, maintenant, le coût d'une maison est de 45 à 75 % plus élevé ici au Canada qu'aux États-Unis. Donc, ce n'est pas un problème mondial, c'est un problème ici au Canada qui existe pour la première fois après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Et juste pour montrer que ce n'est pas un problème mondial, Vancouver est maintenant le 3e plus coûteux et Toronto le 10e plus coûteux parmi tous les marchés immobiliers à travers le monde. Plus cher que New York, plus cher que Londres, plus cher que Singapour, une île qui a 2000 plus d'habitants par kilomètre que le Canada, après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau, UBS, la banque suisse, dit que Toronto est le marché bulle le plus risqué au monde. Ça n'a même pas été sur la liste il y a 8 ans. Vancouver, c'est le 6e. On sait pourquoi Justin Trudeau ne veut pas dire que le logement est sa job, hein? On voit aussi qu'aujourd'hui, qu'un appartement, une maison avec 2 chambres, ça coûte plus cher qu'un château en Suède. Et qu'est-ce qu'on fait maintenant pour régler le problème? Justin Trudeau a annoncé un programme de 4 milliards de dollars pour accélérer la construction. Intéressant parce que la construction est en chute libre. Selon l'Agence fédérale de logement, la construction tombe cette année de 32 %. Donc, on bâtit moins de maisons. L'année dernière, on a bâti moins de maisons qu'en 1972, il y a 50 ans. En 1972, il y avait 22 millions de Canadiens. Maintenant, il y a 39 millions de Canadiens, presque le double, et on bâtit moins de maisons. Comment ça se fait? Et ça continue. Selon le CD Howe, le coût du gouvernement ajouté à chaque maison bâtie, nouvellement bâtie à Toronto, est 350 000 $. Ça, c'est le paperasse, les taxes, les consultants, les avocats. Ce n'est pas les travailleurs, ce n'est pas les charpentiers, ce n'est pas le bois, ce n'est même pas le terrain, ni le profit. C'est le coût du gouvernement qui est le plus grand parti du coût d'une nouvelle maison ici au Canada après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Donc, moi, j'ai une solution de gros bon sens. Il faut inciter les municipalités d'accélérer les permis de construction. Nous avons le deuxième plus grand montant de terrain au monde. Nous avons plus de terrain par capita que tous les pays du G7 et en même temps, on a le moins de maisons par capita dans le G7 parce que la bureaucratie empêche la construction. On est le deuxième plus lent pour offrir un permis de construction ici au Canada. Moi, je vais dire aux municipalités, il faut augmenter les permis de construction de 15 % par année ou vous allez perdre vos contributions de l'infrastructure fédérale. Mais ceux qui bâtissent plus vont avoir un bonus de construction. On va aussi exiger que chaque station de transport en commun soit approuvée pour des grands appartements pour que nos aînés et nos jeunes puissent vivre à côté de l'autobus ou du train. Je vais vendre 6 000 édifices du gouvernement fédéral et des milliers d'acres de terrain fédéral encore pour bâtir, bâtir et bâtir pour l'avenir. C'est ça qu'un premier ministre devrait faire. Oui, c'est le job du premier ministre, le logement. Oui, le plus grand agence de logement, c'est fédéral. Le fédéral dépense 89 milliards de dollars sur le logement. Ça, c'est fédéral. On a un ministre de logement. Ça, c'est fédéral. Le politique monétaire et fiscale, c'est fédéral. Les fonds pour l'infrastructure, c'est fédéral encore. Oui, c'est fédéral. Donc, Justin Trudeau, vous avez doublé le coût de logement au Canada. Je vous demande à cette retraite que vous êtes en train de tenir, d'avouer que le logement est votre job et que c'est vous qui êtes le responsable pour avoir doublé le coût de logement. Thank you very much, and now in English. So Justin Trudeau is holding a big cabinet retreat on the Liberal housing crisis. Interesting, isn't it? This is 2 weeks after he said housing is not his job. You can understand why he would want you to believe it's not his job because he's done such a terrible job. Let's just look at the facts. That I'm going to help Justin today and give him some facts about the state of housing after 8 years as Prime Minister, 8 years after he promised housing would be made more affordable. These are the facts. It now takes 66% of the average pre-tax family income to make the average mortgage payment. It was about 39% when Trudeau took office. It now takes 25 years for the average Toronto family to save up for a down payment. Before Trudeau, you could pay off an entire mortgage in 25 years. After 8 years of Trudeau, newlyweds are forced to pay $1,000 for a single room in a townhouse that they share with 2 other couples. Shared bathroom, shared kitchen, $1,000 for that privilege. How romantic for those newlyweds after 8 years of Trudeau. After 8 years of Trudeau, the average mortgage payment has gone from $1,400 to $3,300, a more than 100% increase. After 8 years of Trudeau, the average rent has gone from $950 to over $2,000, excuse me. Once again, 100% increase. After 8 years of Trudeau, housing costs in Canada are 45 to 75% more expensive than in the United States. And if you go to border towns like Niagara, you will see that the housing cost on the Canadian side of the border is nearly double that of the housing cost 15 minutes away in the United States. Why is the Trudeau housing market twice as expensive as the American market? And it's not just the American comparison. Vancouver is now the third most unaffordable and Toronto the 10th most unaffordable housing market in the world. Worse than New York City, worse than London, England, worse than Singapore, an island with 2,000 times more people per square kilometer than Canada. We're worse than Singapore when it comes to housing. According to UBS, Toronto is now the most risky housing bubble in the world. 8 years ago, Toronto didn't even rank as a bubble. Now, it's the worst bubble on planet Earth after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. Today, a 2-bedroom house in Canada costs more than a castle in Sweden after 8 years of Justin Trudeau. And how is the problem progressing? Well, we obviously have a big housing shortage. We have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. So how are we doing to fix that problem? Housing construction is down 32% this year, according to the National Housing Agency. In fact, last year, we built fewer homes than we built in 1972, when Canada's population was 22 million. In other words, and last year the population was 39 million. So we've doubled the population and we're building fewer houses annually. Furthermore, we see that the cost of government amounts to $350,000 per newly built house in Toronto and $1.3 million in Vancouver. The biggest cost for housing today is not labor, not lumber, not land, and not profit. It is government. That is the record after 8 years of Trudeau. Anybody wonder why he doesn't want housing to be his job anymore? Remember 8 years ago when he promised he'd make housing more affordable? He kept making those promises for years and years and years, and then whoops! 2 weeks ago, he popped up in front of all of you in the press and said, "Not my job, sorry, let me put you on hold while I transfer your call to another government department." That's 8 years of Trudeau. My message, Mr. Trudeau, is this. You have a big housing retreat with your Liberal cabinet in Prince Edward Island. You can start reversing the problem you caused by walking out today and saying, yes, housing is your responsibility, Mr. Trudeau. You are the one who is to blame for doubling the cost. And you could adopt my policies, which have been clearly stated, that we should speed up housing construction. I will require every federally funded transit station be pre-permitted for high sky-rise apartments so our seniors and youth can live right next to the bus or train. I require municipalities speed up and lower the cost of building permits. They will have to boost permits by 15% per year or lose housing or lose infrastructure money. But those that beat that 15% target will get a building bonus. We'll free up thousands of acres of federal land and sell 6,000 federal buildings to turn that into housing as well. We'll make sure that new immigrants, we have a higher number of carpenters, plumbers, and other skilled immigrants to help build houses. We'll put more support for the trades. We need more boots, not just more suits. These are common sense solutions about which have been talking for years. We can restore the dream of home ownership that everyone took for granted 8 years ago. The good news is life wasn't like this before Trudeau. It won't be like this after he's gone. We'll turn the hurt he's caused into the hope Canadians need. Let's bring it home.
Quel lien faites-vous entre la crise du logement et l'écart qui se creuse dans les sondages entre vous et les libéraux?
Mais les Canadiens commencent à reconnaître que Justin Trudeau a doublé le coût de logement. Il a doublé le loyer, doublé les paiements hypothécaires. Il a doublé le premier versement nécessaire pour acheter une nouvelle maison. Il l'a fait en finançant la bureaucratie qui empêche la construction et avec les déficits qui augmentent les taux d'intérêt. Les Canadiens savent qu'un gouvernement Poilievre va plafonner les dépenses, éliminer le gaspillage pour équilibrer le budget afin de réduire l'inflation et les taux d'intérêt. Et que je vais inciter des municipalités d'enlever la bureaucratie pour bâtir et bâtir des nouvelles maisons. Surtout des jeunes appelés Pierre Poilievre, parce qu'ils savent que je suis le seul chef qui est capable d'inciter la construction des maisons abordables, et c'est pour ça que les Canadiens m'appuient.
Est-ce que le gouvernement Poilievre augmenterait les seuils d'immigration du fédéral ou est-ce qu'il les maintiendrait tels qu'ils sont en ce moment?
Justin Trudeau veut que les Canadiens blâment les immigrants pour les problèmes que Trudeau a causés. Il veut diviser le pays entre immigrants et les gens qui sont ici depuis longtemps. Les immigrants ne sont pas les personnes à blâmer. Justin Trudeau est à blâmer. Et c'est comme ça que Justin Trudeau maintient le pouvoir. Et en divisant les gens, c'est un démagogue. Il veut diviser les Canadiens pour distraire du fait que c'est Justin Trudeau et seul Justin Trudeau qui est responsable pour doubler le coût du logement.
Could I get that in English? Could I get that same question in English? Do you support rolling back immigration levels to ease the strain on housing?
Look, I think Justin Trudeau would love Canadians to blame immigrants for the housing prices that he has doubled. But immigrants are just following the rules that he put in place. So how can we blame them and not him? He's the one that presided over the doubling of housing costs. He's the one that doubled the rent, doubled mortgage payments. He's the one that gave us the worst inflation crisis in 40 years. He's the one who sent interest rates on our mortgages rising faster than at any time in monetary history. And now he wants Canadians to forget all that and blame immigrants. He wants to divide people, to distract from his failings. He thinks if you're afraid of your neighbor, you might forget that you can't pay your rent. This is what demagogues do. Justin Trudeau's been dividing people his entire life. And I expect that he will get even nastier and more divisive now as people realize the misery that he has brought down on them.
The Prime Minister said today,
do you think the government should take a more active role
on the foreign
in
interference
housing?
inquiry, he said that the opposition parties are still working together, that something's happening. What's the holdup on calling this inquiry in your mind? Because he says you haven't come to a consensus yet.
We gave him names, we gave him a mandate, and we've been waiting ever since. The holdup is Justin Trudeau. Only Justin Trudeau has the authority to call a public inquiry. As Leader of the Opposition, I have no authority under the Inquiries Act. I've made my suggestions and I'm now waiting for him. You almost wonder if Trudeau doesn't want the truth to come out about Beijing's interference in our democracy before the next election so that he can allow that interference to happen all over again. He benefited from it twice, and he knew it because we know that he had the briefings on it, and he did absolutely nothing. And now he's blocking inquiry. He didn't introduce a foreign influence registry to identify those paid agents who work for foreign dictators to manipulate our politics. It seems to me Trudeau is fine to allow the foreign influence to continue as long as it benefits him. A Poilievre-led government will call a full inquiry, expose the foreign influence, and we will have a foreign influence registry. Finally, we will make sure that we shut down every foreign-controlled police station in this country, because the proud and patriotic Canadians of Chinese origin came here to get away from that oppression. They should not be harassed by a foreign communist dictatorship in this country here in Canada. Justin Trudeau said he admires the basic dictatorship, the basic communist dictatorship in China. I believe him.
Some have suggested the government should take a more active and direct role in housing, meaning turning office buildings into affordable rent below market, or taking vacant land, turning that into housing, or buying land to create housing that then people can have at below market rent. Do you think this would be the correct approach? Would this help in any way get more affordable units built and to people faster?
Well, there are definitely some ideas in there that could help. I want to be careful, though, that we don't build more bureaucracy when we need to build more homes. Trudeau's increased federal housing budget to $89 billion a year. He's spending vastly more on so-called housing programs than any government ever, all to achieve a doubling in the actual cost. Admittedly, when I was housing minister, the taxpayer paid less for housing programs, but housing was affordable. The average mortgage payment was half, the average rent was half, the average down payment was half of what it is now. So what I propose is let's remove the problem, which is that bureaucracies block home building. I was in the Byward Market the other day. A builder came up to me. He said he was supposed to have his permit for 1,700 homes in Ottawa in May. They said, oh, wait to June. Oh, wait to July. Well, now it's August, and he called in that morning, and the planner's on vacation for 2 more months. Well, isn't that nice? Well, 1,700 families are waiting for their home to be built. The planner's on vacation. There's no one else who can pick up the phone at City Hall and get the house built, get the permit stamped. I mean, why is it that you can get a permit faster in every other OECD country except one than you can in Canada? Because we've allowed these bureaucracies to grow up, and the Trudeau policy has been to fund the bureaucracies and make them even bigger. We don't need more gatekeepers. I'm going to pay for results. The money I give to cities for infrastructure will be based on housing completions, keys indoors, families in living rooms. There will be a formula that will be per housing completion and occupied that will incentivize cities to massively accelerate building permits, free up land, so we can build, build, build.
Last question.
Yes.
Catherine McKenna, the former Liberal minister, accused Conservatives of being arsonists over the opposition to the carbon tax. So what's your response to her comment, and what do you say to climate alarmists or maybe people that say that not having a carbon tax will lead to a climate catastrophe?
What I really worry about is the increased radicalization of rhetoric by Liberals, particularly Justin Trudeau, but the nastiness and meanness that they're directing at people who disagree with their policies, whether it's Trudeau's nasty comments directed at Muslim parents, or whether it is him jabbing his finger in people's faces, and now a former Liberal minister saying that anybody who doesn't want to pay higher taxes is an arsonist. Really? Really? As if we paid higher taxes, we'd have less forest fires? Come on. Let's get back to some common sense in this country. And let's start to bring our people together instead of tearing the country apart. Thank you.